Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I could call the meeting to order, please. Deborah, roll call, please.
Absolutely. Rain.
Here.
Star.
Here.
Steele.
Here.
Hines.
Here.
Jennings.
Here.
Singh is excused and Byron.
Here.
Next is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on December 2nd, 2025. Anyone have any additions, changes, deletions? None noted. We'll consider them approved. Next is member forum. Deborah?
All right, we've got two speakers today in person. Members are welcome to speak during the designated member forum at Rossmore Walnut Creek Board and committee meetings, either in person or over Zoom. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes and must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning. If speaking on behalf of another member, a signed consent form is required. To speak, members must submit a member forum slip prior to the start of the forum. Instructions and slips are available at meeting entrances. Please be advised that the meetings are broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating, including during the open forum, attendees agree to and release RWC from all liability for their voice and or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purpose without compensation. All right, first up, we have Mary Bennon. Mary, if you'd be so kind as to sit or stand at the end of the table.
Hello, my name is Mary Bennon, and I live at 6309 Horseman's Canyon Drive, and I'm the president of the Rossmore Tennis Club. I'll pass this out while I'm speaking, pass this around. The planning committee allocated $30,000 to resurface courts 7 and 8 at the Buckeye Tennis Center during 2026. As that committee noted, the resurfacing will not remedy all the problems because the pyrites under the courts 7 and 8 will continue to leach into the asphalt pavement, causing the return of the rusty looking spots and streaks that you'll see on the pictures I'm passing around. However, resurfacing the courts, including filling the many cracks in the asphalt, will make the courts safer to play on and be more attractive, not only to residents, but to visitors and potential residents at a cost of 10 times less than the thorough remodel would cost. So we agree that this is a reasonable approach in the current budget situation. We have read about the budget shortfall due to the fewer properties sold in 2025 than anticipated. We know that this committee will need to decide which projects are deferred until 2027. We'd like to remind you that the resurfacing of these courts was originally slated for 2023 and $350,000 was approved for thorough remodeling of these two courts. That project was deferred to 2024, and in 2024, courts 1 to 6 were resurfaced, but courts 7 and 8 were not included in that resurfacing and were deferred to 2025 and now 2026. So not only has the tennis community been waiting since 2023 for these courts to be resurfaced, but since there are open cracks in the asphalt, the cracks have continued to get wider and deeper. And if not fixed this year, the continued deterioration will make the courts unplayable. We respectfully ask that the funds for the surfacing of courts 7 and 8 remain in the 2026 budget at a high enough priority to be fixed this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dave Blanchard.
I asked for 5 minutes, but you're relieved to know that you didn't let me have 5 minutes today. Okay.
I'll need your name and full Rossmore
Dave
address.
Blanchard, 4829 Terra Granada, 2A. And I'm going to use the words of our Vice President Albert Sibilia today because he had a family emergency to take care of this morning. So I'll say, I am Albert Sibilia, Vice President of the Tennis Club. I wanted to add more context to why resurfacing courts 7 and 8 is vital for tennis at Rossmore. My wife and I have lived here for 3 years. Prior to moving here, we were active.
One moment, sir. I just need clarification. Are you speaking on behalf of another member?
I'm using his words, basically.
So you're not speaking on his behalf?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. Continue.
My wife and I have lived here for 3 years. Prior to moving here, we were active in other tennis clubs in La Miranda. We would play matches here occasionally. We were impressed that the tennis facility has 8 good courts. When we chose to move here, part of our decision was having access to a top-notch tennis facility. As Mary pointed out, courts 7 and 8 have deteriorated significantly over this period of time. They are now almost unplayable. The lack of availability of these courts impacts not only the 250-plus tennis club members, but all residents who play tennis or are thinking of playing tennis in Rossmore. We know of several players who have never played tennis before, but because the courts are available, they are starting to play now. The courts are open to all residents. There is no reservation system for courts except during matches. They are first come, first served for all residents of Rossmore. The tennis club runs free clinics every Wednesday and Friday, plus free monthly tournaments, which are open to all residents. With the court capacity essentially down to 6 courts, it impacts the availability. We have asked players to reduce the court time from 2 hours to 1.5 hours.
Thank you, that is time.
At peak times to accommodate more players. During matches and tournaments, we have just 6 courts available. As you enter the spring, tennis court usage has been as follows. We urge you to keep the resurfacing of courts 7 and 8 a high priority, hopefully to get done before the peak season. Thank you all for your time.
And that concludes the member forum.
Okay, great. We're gonna move some things around. So we're gonna have Ken Johnson go, which is an item in new business, 8B. We're gonna move that first so Ken can speak and then he can go to work.
On our behalf. This is work.
So if I can give Ken just a quick introduction. Ken Johnson is with Gallagher. Our Rossmore has been with Gallagher now since 2010. So for quite some time, we wanted to give the Finance Committee, and we are scheduled for the board. And yesterday we presented to the President's Forum just an update on the placement of all of our lines of insurance, but specifically the property coverage, which has been one of the main drivers of cost over the last 4 or 5 years. Over last year, we had a real concerted effort in working with the mutuals as well as the RWC board to look at the opportunity of moving our renewal date from 1/1 to June 1st. And in doing budgeting for all of the mutuals as well as RWC, we have been able to accomplish that. And basically what has been done right now is an extension of existing policies through 5/31, and then we'll be talking with you about a renewal for the 6/1 season. Very successful placement. Rates continue to come down in the property market. There is still some struggles with the other lines, but Ken will go over that. We had good results as well. And we look forward to the placement. The insurance task force, which Cheryl is a member of, continues to meet and work with Ken, and they are looking at some opportunities for how the insurance, especially the property insurance, is allocated across the various mutuals. So Ken will talk a little bit about that as well.
Thanks, Jeff. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to Rossmore. It's always a privilege to get to speak to this group. Rossmore is a very important account to Gallagher, and so thank you very much for your time. As Jeff said, he asked me to touch on the renewal, what the results were, and a couple of things that we're working on with the property task force, specifically using the shared deductible and the alternative risk transfer program, and a couple other things to how those can be utilized to effectively help fire mitigation efforts. The extension, as he said, we wanted to get away from that January 1 renewal. to a 6/1 or more amenable renewal date. And the reasons for that are really two big reasons, right? January 1 is a very, very busy time, and it doesn't give underwriters the capability to really look at all the good work that a big account like Rossmore is doing. And reinsurance. Reinsurance renews on 7/1/11. And if you're coming off of a big catastrophic loss season like wildfires or wind, hurricane, and convective storms, you're saddled with that. You've got to overcome that for the reinsurance. By moving to 6/1, you're in front of those periods of time, the wind timeframe and the wildfire season. So these are the reasons in your deck that you have why it addresses each one as to why. The results of that, you have two big portions of your property program. The retained risk layer, so primary $5 million. That there was no increase in that whatsoever. They just extended it. Allianz is very happy with the relationship, and I think Rossmore is happy with the relationship as well. So there was no increase to that. They just extended the period of time. With regards to the coverage tower, those are the many insurance carriers that are above that. The extension was $5.6 million for a 5-month period of time, which was a 11.75% rate reduction. Now, we're finishing up our appraisal with Kroll. We just finished our 3rd year. And so there was a slight increase in valuation, which was 6.75%. So that resulted, those two numbers resulted in a 5% period over period reduction in premium. And this is just a snapshot of your property program. You've all seen this before on this committee. The alternative risk program is over on the side. Keep in mind, Rossmore, people on this committee probably look at the deductible as $250,000. The insurance industry looks at your deductible as $5 million, which is it's the best of both worlds, really. And then you have the layered up property, 15 carriers on the primary, then that middle tranche of 22 and 11, and that big layer up at the top, that 450 and 100 million, that's one underwriter, which is Chubb. With regards to the extension for the other lines, as Jeff said, the general liability and auto market, those are unfriendly markets right now. You know, the cost of nuclear verdicts and private funding of litigation is really driving liability rates. Great American, as a solid partner, they just extended that to rates. There was no increase into the rates whatsoever. And so they extended, these are all the layers that you have. Rossmore maintained their $50 million worth of liability, general liability, liquor abuse, professional. And the one thing that did change is the workers' compensation, and that is a good story as well. Rossmore, as a community, or as an entity, you set the bar for master plan communities in California. Your workers' compensation experience modification is a 0.85, which is the best out there because you do so many different things. It's not unusual for an entity like this to have claims. Everest Insurance Company had been on the program for many years. They sold their book of business. They were getting out of workers' comp. They sold their book of business to AIG. Everybody wanted to compete on this account, or did compete on this account. Hartford wanted the account. Travelers wanted it. CNA, Everest. CNA went above and beyond. They came into this room. They met with Arnold and Jeff. They gave us the claims team that you wanted. They gave us the loss control efforts that you guys wanted or needed, and they reduced the price. So those are the renewal premiums, and CNA came in significantly less. So that was a big win. With regards to fire mitigation, working with the task force, it's a complicated subject, as you know, and so they have created a subcommittee, and that subcommittee are asking questions of the Gallagher team, like, what is our current property allocation method? How do other clients use their methodology, potential things to consider? So we had a big meeting last week with this subcommittee. On that meeting, we had Gallagher London, Gallagher LA, Zach Phillips, a bunch of people, and we went through all these things, starting with the methodology from where it was in 2021 and the enhancements that we've done over the years, including the appraisal. property underwriters love looking at Rossmore because so many things have gone in the right direction. They love the detail associated with your appraisal. They love all the different safety mechanisms that you've implemented. So we gave them how the methodology is done now, and then we're talking about different ways that we can do this. This first one, avoid premium shock. Like, let's say you're gonna say, hey, we need everybody to get on board and do these 5 things, and some mutual doesn't do it or something. If you were to impose like a 5% increase in premium during a hard market when prices are going up, and then you put another 5 on top of that, that's very difficult. So Rossmore has the wind at their back, right? Because prices are falling. So maybe you don't get a 15% reduction on 6/1. Maybe you only get a 10% or something like that. So that's an advantage. Utilizing the shared deductible program as an incentive is by far it's a great tool. The fact that you have that, it's great. I just seen recently a client. It was a global property deal. The people in Spain said, no, we're not doing that. And the CFO came back and said, well, then you meet the entire $250,000 deductible on each and every claim. So that changed their tune. So utilizing, and you don't have to be that dramatic, but you could say, hey, instead of having a per mutual $10,000 or responsible party $10,000 deductible, that could be 20 or it could be 30. So there's all different mechanisms that levers they can pull using the shared deductible. That's the property task force, or recommend to the board. Agree on most effective measurable mitigation needs. So that's just, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Incentivized risk management, that's in process. They're working with Zach Phillips for all different types of Todd for different alternatives. It's just a lot of stuff is going on with the allocation methodology. The other tool that you can draw upon is your alternative risk transfer program, which, as you know, was put in 3 years ago. The annual premium for that program is $3.75 million, $3,750,000, I'm sorry. And the amount that goes into your experience contribution is $3,187,000. So the insurance portion, the portion that the carrier takes is $562,000. Now that, as I said earlier, that program is a $5 million per occurrence limit with an annual aggregate limit of $10 million over the period of the 5-year, a $30 million aggregate limit. So what's taken place with that? You guys have done, Rossmore has done an incredible job. You have a little over $10 million, $10,304,000 in the bank in that account, drawing interest. And so one of the reasons we had the Gallagher London team on there is say, hey, what are other clients? This is a more detailed snapshot of your growth, but I mean, you should take a bow on what you've done. That was an incredible effort. And so having Gallagher on the line, they're saying, hey, what have other people done? Well, some people have said it's important for us because the property world views us as having a $5 million deductible. So it's important for us to maintain that or possibly increase it, right, to maybe 7.5 over the years. And so some people will say, hey, we're just going to roll that forward. We're going to use some of the premium or money that we have in there to do that. Keep in mind, we put this policy in place at the height of the property market when it was the worst of the worst. And so it locked in our rates because we didn't know if it was going to keep going or not. And so it locked in those rates for a 5-year period of time. Now, if we were to extend years because we're just starting year 4, if we're going to go buy an additional 3-year period to extend that out, the price would be much less, right? Because the property market has slid so dramatically. So that's great. What do other people do? They sometimes, some people will take they're not going to contribute the entire 3.187 million, right? They'll say, we're going to contribute $1 million and we're going to take $2 million and do some form of mitigation. We're going to help these mutuals with that money. Some will just say, I'm going to take some of the money now And I'm gonna take some of the money, instead of my contribution, I'm just gonna grab some of the money that I have in the bank there and take that out and use it for mitigation. And then some people will say, you know, that's great, we're gonna do our mitigation as is, and we're gonna take a look at potentially buying some parametric earthquake insurance or some earthquake insurance. It's just lots of different options that were provided to the insurance subcommittee. So that's some of the tools, like, so you got the shared deductible program that can be utilized as a incentive tool. You've got the alternative risk transfer program that can be utilized to assist. And then the other item that's come up is by moving to a June 1 date, you now have the same effective date as a sister Leisure World community. Remember, there's 7 Leisure World communities around the United States. And Jeff and I went down and met with those folks at Laguna Woods. They do have the same insurance broker, which happens to be Gallagher. They do have the same property team, which happens to be Charlotte Stone and Melissa Morales. And so there's now you have a common date. So there's a lot of benefits, a lot of headwinds, or not headwinds, but when did you back on that? So what's to be expected if something came of this? Well, if you did nothing, right? If both entities did nothing, the property marketplace is in a good spot. You, as it says here, each entity should anticipate some level of rate relief and improve carrier appetite on 6/1. The benefits of joining together is if you take 2 SOVs and you combine them and put them into the property market to property underwriters, your pricing is going to go down. It's a bigger account. They can apply more credits. They like the geographical spread of risk, and it's a benefit for you. Not everybody has this opportunity. So it's a great opportunity to leverage, like I said, opportunity to leverage scale to combine carriers. And it brings, when you're that big, it brings carriers in that haven't necessarily wanted to participate, like Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway could come in and take a lot of capacity. And that word capacity, I'm not trying to use jargon, but it means insurance. The hurdle that we need to make sure that everybody is comfortable with is that there's no shifting or sharing of liabilities. I'm not going to pay for the claims or be impacted by the claims of anybody that I'm partnering with. As a reminder, or as another item, Seal Beach, another Leisure World community, did attend this meeting in Los Angeles with Jeff and I. The pros of remaining independent: you maintain full autonomy. You just, you're not a part of anything else, and you're on your own. It allows you to individually to market your account. So it's just an opportunity. I've seen it work on Gallagher's largest account, and it was everybody on that particular account started last 7/1 of 2025, and everybody there's 55 participants in that, and everybody got a 22% rate reduction and a much more significant capacity in terms of quake and wind. But that's across the United States, as is the Leisure World group. So what are we doing now for that subcommittee? We're doing CAT modeling. We're running CAT modeling. Gallagher uses AIR and RMS and this other thing called Singular for modeling. You guys will be able to see that shortly before the renewal, 6/1 renewal. And so we're modeling it individually as well as collectively in order to make sure that, are these the limits that we want to continue to carry? Are these the deductibles that we want to continue to carry? And if there's a greater geographical spread of risk, what would that look like in premium for earthquake? Would that have an effect of reducing that? And then the last thing that, and I don't want to get technical on this at all, but here's the story. When the Gallagher property team went to the market and said, hey, we want an extension, they go, that's fine, we'll give you an extension, we love the account, but we'll give you your rate reduction. You can take your rate reduction now, or you can take it at 6/1. Don't think you're gonna get 2 bites of the apple. Don't think you're gonna get a rate reduction now and another rate reduction. And so Gallagher's, those people are always very aggressive. They lean towards being aggressive more as they say, give us our rate reduction now. Because one, those underwriters didn't know that they might be getting an SOV with 2 doubling the size of Rossmore. So that's one thing they had in their hip pocket. And the other one is this thing called Gallagher Adapt. And this is just, and let me flip to a last slide here, and this is why. If you look at this, we're trading back and forth with Aon for the number 2 position as the largest insurance broker in the world, not in the US, but in the world. And so it's an $80 billion entity with 71,000 employees. Gallagher can move a lot of premium. So some insurance companies have collectively come together, about 5 of them, it's in Nationwide and Markel and Chubb. They said, we will give you, Gallagher Risk Placement Services, capacity. If you ever have a quota share layered program, we have a ton of them. If you have that, we will give you capacity up to $500 million at 20% of each layer. You can kind of see how the layers are broken in this graphic. We'll give you 20% of each layer. And in each layer, like you see this one here with all these carriers, each one of those carriers has a different rate. Some may have a 39-cent rate, some may have a 43-cent rate, some may have a 56-cent rate because you needed them on that. You needed that capacity. What this adapt thing says is we will find the lowest possible rate on that layer and we'll follow that rate. We'll put that capacity in at that rate. So it's a game changer. So all of a sudden these guys are going, oh, I'm gonna go renew this thing on 6/1. Not necessarily, because your capacity might be replaced by this Gallagher Adapt deal. So again, yes, we have a long-standing relationship with Rossmore, but every day we treat this account as like it's a new account. When we come up with the alternative risk transfer stuff, when we come up with the Gallagher Adapt type thing, or whatever it happens to be. And that's it.
So if we could just summarize real quick, the main thing for the Finance Committee and what we presented to the mutuals is that for the extension period, we had a really good placement that came in right now below budget. There is significant focus and prep work towards 6/1 and using some of the tools that Ken just discussed, and doing some of the modeling so we know our maximum probable loss under different scenarios in combination with potentially other properties to see if there's a benefit. We still are not going to be in any place where we're going to have full replacement value. So the mortgage crisis is going to continue in terms of we won't have full replacement value. But rates are in a good position right now, and we want to continue to focus with the insurance task force on methods of bringing rates down, but looking for stability and opportunities in the marketplace, so we're well positioned if and when the rates go up again. So, any questions for Ken at all?
I had a question about when the alternative risk transfer program, when it comes to the end of the 5 years, can different mutuals choose to withdraw money or deal with it in different ways, or does it have to be across the board?
It's one policy, so it would have to be across the board. The president's group or this group would have to tell Gallagher, give us direction.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
We'll get back to the regularly scheduled programming now. 6A, Jeff, do you have any general comments?
So I wanted to use my comments to somewhat lead into Todd and Yaron's presentation here on the RPM. Unfortunately, as you all know by now, the financials are not included in your packet or the board agenda packet. And we are anticipating that those will be distributed and posted on Friday before close of business. This just highlights further some of our struggles as we've been implementing NetSuite, but also the structure of the department in terms of capacity and where we have some bottlenecks, but really in terms of capacity to meet our obligations, and especially our obligations under the new management agreement that was just adopted with the mutuals. We have been, these guys have really been focusing in on analyzing not only the accounting department, but the maintenance and management side of the house within RPM, which will also have impact on how we deliver services to RWC as well. We've been working with the RWC board and presenting some structural changes that we think will help us avoid situations like today where the department was hit by the flu and really took out a number of our key staff, including the controller, which limited our ability to timely get the financials out. So we want to put in a structure that helps us avoid those types of situations, but also is in recognition that we've just made a several $1 million investment in new technology and new software platforms that we really need to be able to take full advantage of in order to make those a valuable investment. So we want to look at a structure that helps us do that as well. So instead of getting financials today, you're going to get a little snapshot of what the planning is in terms of doing some restructuring within those departments. I'm going to turn it over to these guys to launch onto that.
Okay,
Excuse me.
got it.
It's too quick on the draw. All right, so as Jeff kind of said, first of all, everyone, I certainly wish I had financials today. This is, obviously as we get to the year end and look at the preliminary numbers. But, when you have someone like Amanda, which we all know is kind of one of the risks we have with so much in one person in this organization, when she really got very, very sick, there is not anything you do to change that. There's no other people I can go to. We know we have another senior accountant on the RWC side named Kat. Her father had an emergency. And so, we just had 2 people down and Amanda was out. And if you know Amanda, she's still trying to do everything she can, but when you lose somewhere like a week and a half, and we're at the very end of the year, there's just literally nothing that can be done. So one of the things with this initiative we want to kind of show you, Jeroen and I have been working very hard over the last several months to try to relook at not just the organizational structure, but how do we impact, obviously our service deliverable to the mutuals in light of the new management agreement, but also how it affects, right now with my hat on for RWC and RPM. Jeroen and I are both pulled into over 80 hours plus a month in meetings, and it's just not very smart and strategic for us to be spending all of our times in meetings versus doing value-added strategic work for the organization. So with that, we have kind of gone through our structure, and we have, so when this committee knows, we did have several meetings with the board of directors who've gone through this and actually approved these changes. So we're actually trying to work on it now and roll it out. And so just real quick, we want to be able to focus. We're going to start with RPM just a little bit and focus how we deliver our customer service experience. We have in this community unique mutuals, right? We have co-ops, right, that have their own set of issues and property tax. We have Kim, who also has the pleasure of sitting on third, that has 19 separate projects and 19 separate financials and is extremely complex just in the sheer volume. And then we have all the independents that have their own governing docs, right? So if we look at how we align our back of the house and how do we provide that forward-facing customer service model and pull ourselves out to create bandwidth, we need to create a couple things. One of them is some more layers in our organization. We need to create that service team lead that sits in the board meetings as a primary go-to representative from RPM. We need to be able to create a succession planning, so we have resources in our organization to not just backfill, but also to have career tracks for people that we currently do not have, right? We also have the opportunity, as Jeff mentioned, we have invested a lot into NetSuite and some of these new tools. And if you look at a year ago with GenArc, we wouldn't have ability to switch to a model like this because there wasn't real-time cloud-based data available, right? So as we mature and grow into the use of these new tools, you'll have the ability to have that for service-facing, that customer-facing service manager also have access to the cloud data, to be able to look at an invoice if it's been paid, to have meaningful real-time conversations with the board of directors at the mutuals, right? So what does that mean in terms of organization? So this is a little small, I apologize. But basically real quick on the, yeah, I know. But basically I'll just read the top bullet points. It's to create leadership bandwidth. It's to enhance our service focus. It is also to increase our operational efficiency. And then finally, it improves our succession planning. So in my world right now, just to kind of speak to the changes, it's very apparent that we needed a new senior financial resource that sits and so we are actually recruiting, and I'm hoping interviewing several good clients next week for a new RPM controller. Okay, so that person would have the 3 senior accountants that we currently have report into that controller. That layer is a layer that we critically have missed. That is the not only the Amanda that if she's out, Amanda that can never go on vacation, Amanda that has no succession planning, that keep her of all the keys and industry knowledge, and also from a deliverable to the mutuals. You know, the audits, the management of the financials every month. It's everything that goes into that role. And then the senior accountants, as we mentioned, will be focused, aligned with the different type of mutuals. So there'll be a senior accountant that's overseeing the co-ops with the property tax. There'll be an accountant right now, which is Joyce, it's doing 3rd. And then you'll have a senior accountant and a junior accountant supporting the independents just because of the volume, right? So we're looking for that position, right? What that does then, it also moves Amanda up into an area where she has some breathing room to focus on RWC, right? We don't want to be, as you guys remember last year, RWC was kind of kept getting the can kicked down the road because we were serving our clients first on the implementation, right? And RWC and RPM need their financial resources as well. So Amanda will retain really the controller of the senior accountant for RPM and RWC. And we're also going to have an internal candidate that's moving over into more of accounting support on treasury and cash for the cash side of it. And then the other big change on my standpoint is one dedicated person for credit and collections, right? So one of the big things we've been missing out there on the mutual service level is having one person where you might have an accountant that's specialized in the co-ops. We need one person that's managing all governing docs in the AR collection process. So we have one go-to person that is the face of managing the aging reports and helping and facilitating the boards of the mutuals to collect their delinquencies, right? And that whole process. So obviously the real big change is getting support from Amanda, but I think everyone in this room knows that it is definitely one of our areas with all the risk in today not having financials is caught up in just a very, very few select people. And if that, traffic hits, you can't get to work, So, so we are, she is back this week. We are actually going to be able to, she's doing everything. So we will have financials published at the end of the day Friday. We can still have dialogue on them. As you know, these are preliminary because of we're still doing year-end close. But that's where we are. And then I think I just want to shift it over to Jeroen. He has a little bit of a heavier lift here on his side of the equation in terms of, some of his restructuring.
Yeah, sorry, before you switch,
Yeah.
so you're talking about one additional hire or two?
Two additional hires. So it would be, well, potentially 3, Dan. We have a couple of these are phasing and looking for probably 2027 potential initials. So it's a new controller is 100% new hire. I'm reshuffling the bodies a little bit, but I am probably going to be looking to hire Once the control is in place, in this plan is to bring in a new accountant to support Leela on the independent side, just because there's too much work. And so getting the, managing the audits, managing all the questions from the mutuals and their board, there'll be additional.
And the new hire is gonna go above these people, and these people are going to be okay with that?
Yes. Yes, so we're posting the job internally.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you are posted internally. Okay, good.
So,
Yes. Dave.
so these are not budgeted positions? It'll be a variance to this year's budget, or what was there a process for approving?
Yes, so there was a whole, so when we met with the board, obviously the controller is a non-budget position, but we also have phased in hires, so we are actually trying to minimize the cost impact and how we phase in these positions with delayed hirings. But we also did approve to go outside the budget for these service deliverables.
All right, well, I'll jump over onto my side. So right now I currently have a manager of operations and she has 12 direct reports and it's just too many. So what we want to do is we want to create an associate director of administrative services, move the current employee up into that position, and then take the departments that are below that person and create a supervisor in each one of those departments. So there is a direct one person for each department that reports to the director, and we create a 1-to-6 ratio instead of a 1-to-12 ratio. So a lot better resources there. So that's huge for us on the administrative side, right? Because right now it just is not working with the amount of workload that is on our operations manager. She does everything up to pulling database information for mailers. She pulls the MTFs for these meetings and does that monthly. There's just an amazing amount of work that our operations manager does. So we're actually eliminating the operations manager position, creating this associate director of administrative services. Our administrative manager that we currently have in place will report to the associate director of administrative services. So will a new position that we are creating, but it is already filled with a current employee, which is the escrow and resales desk. Also, there's a board coordinator that need to roll up into an administrative manager, so we still have that happening. Member records will get a supervisor involved there, so it's a 3-person department with one with a supervisor, so the 2 will be like member records coordinators that report to a supervisor that report to a director. And what this does is it creates a clear career path for our employees that says if any one of these people decide to move on, that we have a great pipeline that feeds into that bench, so we have good succession planning. Succession planning for me is huge. It's the most important thing in an organization, because if your employees don't see that there's availability for upward movement, they'll quickly look in another direction. So that's huge for me, making that move. And then more towards the maintenance side, which is what Todd was more speaking towards before, is that we're creating these service teams now, right? So we're moving into a service team model where we'll have a mutual manager, and that mutual manager below them will have an associate mutual manager, and below them they'll have a board coordinator. We have 3 of these service teams, which creates a lot of ability to make movement, right? So if we have our co-op service team, and let's say for some reason that co-op service team lead decides to retire, we can look to his associate manager to move up into that position. And if that's not a good fit, we can look to one of the other associate managers to make a cross move into that section. So it just creates a lot of ability to make moves within the organization. Also, it creates a lot of situations where, like Todd spoke about, if we have somebody that's out for an extended period of time, things aren't just stopping, right? And that's critical, like for all of us. So when we look at it, you go on the next slide if you would, Todd. This is That's Todd's slide that he talked to, right? So these are the benefits of the model. This is really what we presented to the president's forum yesterday. So realistically, this is what we're looking to do, is to pull Todd and myself out of meetings so we can focus on higher level strategic operations. And there's a multitude of them, right? But just this morning, I had the ability to reach out to the fire captain from Contra Costa County Fire Protection District and working on setting up a meeting between myself, captain, hopefully Dave Blanchard, who was here earlier, Bobby Richards for M55, because we are in the process of doing their budget right now. And I would really like to have that fire department come in and give us their professional opinion on what is the most critical moves to make this year right now. I can make those recommendations, but it creates a situation where I'm not the fire professional, right? And in the management world, we really need to look to our professionals to provide that guidance. But that's the kind of leadership that we can, kind of projects that we can work on when we pull our leadership out of the daily meetings. Enhanced service, right? Residents get faster answers from administrative services. We'll have better teams that are working closer together, which I'm really excited about. We have risk reduction. We have specialists now that can work with the mutuals directly. Having a dedicated accountant to each one of these service teams, that dedicated accountant will work very closely with that mutual manager. They will create a relationship and they'll be on a very strong team. And so that will create synergy, and I'm really excited about that. All kinds of efficiencies, and then at the very end, that succession planning, which I think is just so critical.
So all of these kind of changes are with the focus of being able to meet our obligations and provide, not only enhanced service, but really there's a laundry list of items that we need to tackle, from the escrow process to the our bank cards. There's so many things, infrastructure that we really need some more capacity at. And providing these service teams will provide better service to the mutuals, but also give us capacity to do some of those other areas that we really need to focus on. This is not something that's going to happen overnight by any means. It'll have a phase in pretty much throughout the entirety of 2026, and we'll look to even implement some of those changes into 27 with the budget. Funding wise, we have some different tools in terms of open vacancies to we always come in, we budget full staffing, but we know that there are a number of vacancies throughout the year. We also, as we reclassify some of the positions, we have some resources in the merit market pool that we're utilizing. And then throughout this year, our mission really is to figure out, other resources. So this isn't just a straight hit on the management fee or the coupon, but we find other mechanisms to help offset some of these costs, and that'll be occurring throughout the year. A lot of information. We'll certainly be bringing more detail as we start to put this together. We didn't want to get into org charts today because there are still some moving pieces as we're still working with the staff. These guys are just starting to meet with their staff to talk and implement so brand new information.
Yeah, we're literally rolling it out to our staff on Friday. We have a meeting with my administrative side and a meeting with my building maintenance side on Friday. Todd has a meeting with his teams on Friday morning, so we plan to roll it out at the exact same time. And we spent a lot of time on this planning, just the messaging of it and the communication. So it's going to be a big lift, but it's a move in the right direction.
What did the President's Club, what was the feedback you got from them when you met?
100% positive. I don't think nobody spoke out about anything negative. Everybody that spoke out was positive about the reorganization.
The treasurers were also all there, and resoundingly positive. And then also people from the board chimed in because they very much evaluated this before it was presented to us, right, as you know, right? So.
Good, glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Anything else, Todd?
That'll conclude it for me. Thank you. But if you have any questions ever.
You do those slides too. Did you hear that? Will those go on the,
We're gonna need to do some work on this presentation before we put the slides out, but eventually we will make it public.
thank you.
Can I get a copy of this particular presentation?
I think you can get a copy of this, yeah, as long as you keep it confidential until we're finalizing.
Okay. And I'm assuming we're gonna hold you off to new business, right?
Yes.
Next is the MTF.
So we had a little bounce back here in December in terms of sales over the previous. And there was 50 transactions, 41 of those paying the fee. The others were associated with transfers to trusts. So we ended the year with 378 sales. Our total revenue of 5.2 million, which came in a little bit higher than last year's 5.1, even though sales were slightly higher last year. And then there's Adrian, if you wanted to go over your.
Okay, flip to the next
It's this one.
PDF. That one there, yeah. Okay, so somebody at the last meeting asked me to show sort of a longer term picture on this. And so these are numbers from 2012 all the way up to through 2025. And you can see that there's an ongoing drop in sales. And if you start to think about it a little bit, there's some reasons for that. Back in 2005, the last new building at Rossmore was created. It was marked for 300 units came on the market. And so when you think about how long people stay in a unit, that kind of means that by around 2012, you would start to see more sales due to people leaving those new units coming on. And you probably could find that out. The data might be there, but it'd be kind of hard to find. But that probably accounts for some of the reason why we had 500 types numbers in the first few years. Then, of course, it sort of stabilized around 450. And the green bar shows that our budget. It was the COVID year, 2020, of course, and then it was offset by a rebound the following year. And then the last couple of years, we've seen a trend going down. So if we switch to the next slide. We can see by month how it's been going. And what this shows you is the blue line at the top is the best year ever in those 14 years, okay? That was the best month. That month, the best year was what the blue line shows. The red line is the worst year and the green line is the median year. And so you can see that last year, 2025, we did sort of okay. It wasn't great until August, and then we set a new record for the worst year. And then again in October and November, but then in December, we actually set a record for the best year by one. One of my neighbors actually closed a deal on December 31st. So I thank Margaret for that one. So you can see it's sort of higgledy-piggledy. And some of the data that we're seeing, like Bloomberg is reporting, that sales nationally are increasing. When I talk to some of my real estate acquaintances, they're saying that they're seeing more demand now. So reality is you get reversion to the mean. You know, it goes down, it goes up. you want to go to the next slide,
I have a
please?
question before you
Yes.
move off that.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to understand it. So
Mhm.
the worst year, that is 1 year. It's not pulling out the worst
No,
month.
it's the worst month of all 14 years.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand because,
Yeah,
so it's really not the worst year in
no,
12 through 24. It's the worst month in the last 12 years.
Yes.
And that's what you've put up there.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
okay? And then here, what we see is the blue line is the actual number of sales in that year. And you can see how it kind of wiggles up and wiggles down. And then the red line is a trend line fitted using a log formula.
A regression. kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's a mean, at least mean squares regression. And you can see how the red line kind of intersects the middle of the blue line as it moves up and down. So it's kind of, it's saying, yeah, this is sort of the way it's going. And now, these mean squares regressions are, I mean, it's not a guarantee by any means, but it does give you some sort of a picture. And basically what it's saying is we're dropping, but the decrease is decreasing each year.
It's leveling out.
It's leveling out kind of thing. And yeah.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Obviously, the COVID pandemic
Yeah,
and then the rebound,
yeah,
those two things probably happen once every 30, 50 years at a time.
Yeah.
And those are really outliers.
yeah.
So if I would to look at that chart and eliminate 20, 21, and 22, just
Yeah.
take those data points out, how would that change the red line coming down?
I don't know.
Would it move
It's
it up
gonna
or
be a
down?
lot steeper, right? Because if you take the 515 and the 372, you're left with 399 and 387.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So it
the-
goes, like 467, 490, 482,
Mhm.
then to whatever that is, 450 in the red line.
Yeah,
And then, so those three, I'm just saying, I think those three lines are not as telling as what the total lines are.
yeah. Well, I can't do that in real time.
No, I can't, I know.
Yeah, the average of 2020 and 2021 is 443. So I don't know if your line would change. I mean, if you excluded those years, your line would be a lot steeper, but if you just average them, I think you get basically the same line.
Yeah, so the point being though, that if we look at the prediction of the trend line, it says next year we would get 420. Okay? I'm not saying that's accurate, I'm
But it
just,
said we would have had 420 the last 2 years also.
yeah,
Yeah.
but,
We did.
yeah, we didn't. And
Missed it by that much.
yeah, but I mean, if you look at the thing that I tend to look at when I look at these kind of charts, is if you look at the area under the curve here and the area above the curve, the area under, they kind of match. There's a big area here, there's a big area here. And so that's sort of saying, because the reality is, this is all driven by market strangenesses and various different things. But the overall demand, the overall supply of housing at Rossmore is driven by demographics. It's driven by the fact that people live here for a while and then they move on either to heaven or a nursing home, or their kids decide to move someplace else and they leave and go someplace else. So those things, those demographic factors are fairly constant over time. And that means our housing, the sales follows a certain sort of long-term trend, I think. Anyway.
I think this is critical when we're looking at the capital fund cash flow and looking at the number of units, which is the driver of the revenue.
Yeah, yeah.
So keep that in mind when we go through this.
And basically what this says is if you were optimistic, you'd say 420 would be the number next year. And so if we want to be conservative and pick a number that's somewhat below that, that's probably not unreasonable.
Well, I would, you went from optimistic to conservative, there's a realistic number in the middle too. So,
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks. If not, we will move on to, I'm assuming we have no FSM update and no update from the planning committee, correct? No unfinished business, so we will go to new business. Ann?
Super. Thanks, Todd. So included in your packet is the capital fund cash flow and MTF worksheet. And this is a worksheet for a 10-year spending plan on capital. And so today what we wanted to do is to just have you review and recommend the capital project priorities as proposed by the planning committee. If you were to look at this, I'm just going to tell you in the 2025 year and projected, those are the actual, it's preliminary just in case there's some stray as they do the closeout of the year, the formal closeout, there might be an invoice or two, but we believe those are highly accurate with where we ended up in 2025. So again, it's just reviewing those, and what we're reviewing again is a priority. This isn't saying that we're going to go spend this money. We take every project back and get authorization based on the funds available at that time. You'll see that there are two lines towards the bottom-ish, middle-ish that are highlighted in pink. And those are the capital machinery and equipment budget and the RWC facility and property maintenance budget. That's the line item that was moved over from the operating budget into capital this year. And for those two items, we are looking for approval of those. Typically, those are funds that we need to expend on a regular basis, just for continuity of service. And so with capital projects priorities, there would be a second reading for those. But for the remaining two line items, we are looking for a recommendation for approval.
Is there a detail of those? So
The board will, the planning committee has reviewed the detail and the board will.
we don't get to see can we?
So what we're looking for from the finance committee is really a acknowledgement that there is available funds for those various projects, not really the validity of those projects. That was done at the planning committee level, and then will be the planning committee's recommendation to the board will be reviewed by the board as well. So today we're asking if there is acknowledgement of funding available, and just to walk you a little bit further through, I think this is some of what your discussion was as well on the MTF. If you look at our beginning fund balance in 2026 and take into account the various programs that will have either funding carried forward or new funding identified, and you get down to the capital machinery and equipment and the facility and property maintenance, we include the existing debt service. There is then the transfer fee revenue of 6.8 million, which is based on currently the 400 sales projection. There's some other miscellaneous revenue, interest and so forth. We do anticipate that, we will be moving over the reserve fund that was established for the facility and property maintenance of 485,000. There is a ongoing project for kind of the study of the relocation of RWC admin offices that is paid from the medical center deposit reserve, which will stand at 586,000. We do continue to build the retention from the 3.7 in 25 to 4 million, and that's where that is stabilized at 4 million. This is based on the MTF going up currently to 14,000, and then in April it goes up, April 1st it goes up to the 18,000, and then continues that trend. the average between those is 17,000 per month, so it's just, we use 17,000, but there is a two-tiered effect on there. So those are the factors that went into kind of the model. The goal that the committee has previously set, that the board has also followed, is to maintain a balance of available cash of a minimum of 2 million. This plan is, as you can see, comes in at 2.27, so we are within that threshold. But as Ann said, this is more or less a working plan and priority. We always come back when we have a new contract or we initiate the start of a project to get authority within the capital budget. So if for some reason, say sales are slower than anticipated, or there's a higher cost to a project once bids are received, there are a number of projects that begin later in the year, such as paving and construction of the bridges, that if we needed to, we can make adjustments to the priority plan throughout the year to match what our funding level actually is. So this is kind of a acknowledgement that there is within the plan funding available within the spending plan, and that the priority list of projects are, at least at this point, based on the plan, can be accomplished in 26 as presented.
I have a couple questions. And on the food and beverage capital project, the 722,000, I thought we approved 650 for that. What's the difference?
We approved the 650 for the, it's actually 620.
625, yeah, 625.
Just for the reimbursement allowance for the operator. But
Okay.
we had additional funding in there because there's costs that we need to do as the owners of the space. Where part of the contract is we give a turnkey facility basically to the operator, and we've had some rather extensive cleaning up we have to do in there, so.
Okay. And the pickleball, just short of 4.7, that's the latest number that we have, and
It's the same number we
thing.
were seeing at the end, it's just, it's divided over the years differently.
okay.
So, and if we put the assumed number of units at 380, how would that change the year-end cash balance?
25 units times 17,000 is $425,000.
So we'd go below.
We'd go below your 2 million.
So the math I did on that was, what would it take for us to shoot through the 2.2 million? And if sales were, we lost 134 sales next year. If we were off by a third, we would completely eat through the 2.3.
Okay.
But from what you're saying, we're not really supposed to consider that. We're supposed to just say, based on what's in the plan, we would have the money to do that.
Yeah, why we wanna call this a spending plan is that, this is our best estimate in terms of the number of sales. Within the capital budget, we don't release programs. You're not authorizing us to go out and spend this amount of money. We come back to you when we do the paving program. We come back to you and confirm, is there resources available based on the contract that we received, bids that we received for paving. If at that time it is looking like the trend for housing sales is going down, we wouldn't go and bring you a contract for $1 million as estimated right here. If the golf bridges are scheduled to be later in the year, because there's a number of factors we have to wait on. If again, we're looking at a time where sales really take a hit, we wouldn't bring that to you at that time. So the progression of projects and the funding, we always look towards kind of that available cash and still maintaining that 2 million.
So this list, the way it is here, is not necessarily in priority order, is that right?
No.
Okay, okay.
So basically, if we do 384 units, we'll end up above, and we do all this, all things being equal, we'll be 2 million in a couple dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so but if we do 383, we'll fall below the 2 million.
in some ways, it'd be helpful for this meeting, Jeff, if we saw by quarter how much money was going to be spent. So that we could say that, based on your timing, like paving is always towards the end. And so then we could say, okay, we're approving, let's say, $1 million for the next quarter. Oh, that's probably not a problem, and then we'll see what the sales are. It would just be a little easier to understand if we have that, I feel.
Don't we have sort of a suggested timeline of when these projects would like to get started throughout this next year?
So there's a number of projects that are ongoing. So we know that the pickleball is heavily loaded towards the first half of the year, as it's already under contract. There are a number of things, again, we're seeking the authorization for machinery and equipment because that gives us our tools to operate. And then the property maintenance, the main component of that is a slurry seal, but there's a number of other things that we just need the resources, but that again, kind of meters out over the year. We're in the midst of doing the design work and studies for the golf bridge replacement. But we won't actually release a contract, so that'll be a ways. We are obligated for the food and beverage right now on the tenant improvements that's within the contract, and those bills are actually starting to come in as the work is being done. The golf course water conservation for $150,000. Most of those will be a little bit later in the year because we can't do them during peak season. We are looking to get started on some of the master plans for dollar as well as for the RWC admin relocation, but that the admin relocation is paid for from the medical center reserve. The NetSuite implementation, it is within the budget, but most of those expenses are under contract currently and will be towards the first part of the first half of the year as well. And then the lake liner, the study that is in there, is that under contract or is that a later part?
So we've been, we have to been in contact before.
So we're still a ways out for that.
Okay, so I guess we're looking for, you want approval of the 663, 690, and then, or I'm sorry, to say we have enough funds to pay for the 663, 690 on the capital machinery equipment and the property management $1,212,000. Correct?
So we're looking for a recommendation to proceed with the spending plan as a first reading with the board, and then approval for expenditure of funds under the machinery and equipment and the property maintenance.
Okay, I think the 400 is too high. I think we should be much more conservative and go down to 375. That would be my suggestion. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
I think that too.
I would agree with that.
Okay,
Where does that put us in?
375 is 25 unit reduction is 17,000, that's $425,000. So that takes us below 2 million.
That puts us at 1.8 or
1.8, give or take, yeah.
So and that's
Have we ever come close, so I guess, I've only been here a few years, but have we ever come close to ever spending every item that's listed in the capital?
No, but some things fall off and other things fall in,
Right,
but yes, but
so I'm saying if
we can delay things,
we,
yes.
yeah, you could figure out how to do it. You can move
Absolutely.
something out, but things do move out to the next year.
They absolutely will,
Absolutely.
even if we
Yeah,
had the
Yeah, so
resources.
that's not a big risk to say,
right, Right.
But you can say you wanna base the model on sales of 270 or 375.
I think that's the conservative way.
Yeah.
I think it's
It
also the
doesn't slow
realistic
anything
way.
down. It just,
I think it's realistic. I don't think it's conservative. Are we okay with that? Do we wanna tell them to change the model to 375? Then say we,
Want to revisit or?
No, that we need to revisit, that gets the number down, and I mean, so at the end of
We
the,
know the number's down.
yeah, but
it's 1.8,
Yeah.
right? And are we happy approving the spending plan with available cash of 1.8 at the end of the day?
well,
That's what we would be voting on, right?
yeah, it's really five, yeah, but we really,
Or whatever.
we already meet our we already have 4 million, so we have 4
Correct.
million plus
Yeah.
1.8, so we really have
Correct.
5.8.
Yeah.
We've arbitrarily picked a $4 million number. Or someone did, I don't know if it was us or.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Somebody.
someone. What's everyone's,
We're increasing that by 250 from last year.
right, that's exactly what we,
Which is sort of
Which is sort of the wash
What the
between the two
difference is.
funds,
75, yeah.
right?
Is the,
So if all we're saying is there enough money? There's.
is the $2 million,
That's what we're saying.
is it a statutory requirement?
No,
It's like,
that
just we
was,
think it's a good
kind of
number, so if
the
it went to
comfort zone.
1.8, no consequence.
Yeah, I mean, you keep in mind, you have the 4 million minimum reserve in addition to the 2 million available cash.
Which is also not a statutory thing.
That's
It was a comfort thing
correct.
for
yes,
the committees and the board.
yes,
So we're very comfortable.
yes.
So the issue in front of us really is the overall total of this proposed capital expenditure. Do we feel that's fiscally responsible? That overall total? Yes or no?
And I think we already approved the 400 as part of the model previously, right? As we were looking into the future last year, I think there were other models
I
on the
don't think we've talked
revenue
about
side.
2020, I don't think we've
set
talked about
that.
2026 at all yet for a number of units. I don't remember doing it. You were
Yeah,
shaking
400 has been kind of used as our baseline for some time. I think there was, I mean,
We discussed last year, we
It was
reducing it.
420 and we reduced it.
Yeah, we
Yeah, it
wanted,
was
yeah.
420
didn't
and
do
we
it.
reduced it to 400.
Yeah,
Right,
but I
it
think we
was
wanted,
420.
yeah, I wanted to go lower. I think people were talking about going lower.
Right.
Yeah. So what are we saying? Are we saying we want to approve this with a 375 budget?
Yeah.
375 unit? Do we need a roll call vote? We need a motion?
We need a motion.
What is what are we?
So I would move that we accept the capital projects projected budget and including the capital machinery and RWC facilities as stated with the acknowledgement or change of the number of units on the revenue side being 375 instead of 400.
Is there a second of that?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Jeff, does that meet what you need? Okay, if not, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Certainly, Rain,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Castillo,
Yes.
Hines,
Yes.
Jennings,
yes.
and Byron.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
And let's hope that sales next week or next year are 500.
Absolutely.
That would be the best case.
This coming year.
Yeah.
Anything else on the new business? If not, I guess we are adjourned till February 24th.